All right, so welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this one. This time we're really going to dig into the life of Malcolm X,
Okay.
but not like the usual, surface level stuff that we see in history books and documentaries and all that.
Right.
We're going deeper.
Yeah.
We're going to look at specifically his self-education journey and how that impacted, just how incredible his impact on the world has been.
Absolutely.
And we're going to use an article by Tajay Antonio Francis
Yeah.
called Unveiling Malcolm X's Hidden Secrets, a masterclass in self-education and transformation.
It's interesting you say that because the author actually has a personal connection to this.
Right.
Like he talks about how he didn't encounter Malcolm X's teachings until later in his life.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, why was this voice, why was this perspective seemingly kept from him?
It makes you think, right?
Sorry.
Like, how is it that this very important perspective on the world was kind of hidden away from, especially young Black men,
Yeah.
like both Malcolm X and the author.
Yeah.
And the point of struggle throughout history that this has been
Absolutely.
and continues to be relevant to this day.
It is.
But so let's rewind for a second
Okay.
to Malcolm X's early life.
Right.
Now, the author grew up in Jamaica and had an early love for reading. And he kind of draws a parallel to Malcolm X's own path.
Yeah. But there's a crucial difference here.
Okay.
The author had access to books and encouragement.
Right.
But Malcolm X faced constant societal barriers
Yeah.
as a young Black man in the mid-20th century.
Yeah.
You have to think about the hunger for knowledge he must had to possess to overcome all of that.
It's really quite remarkable.
It is.
When you see that level of adversity and how he overcame it, that it makes his story go from just inspirational to like
Oh, yeah.
almost unbelievable, Like, so he ends up in prison surrounded by nothing but concrete, and that's where his real education begins.
Interesting.
And there's this quote that I read from him that every time I read it, it sends chills down my spine.
Oh, wow.
He says, "My alma mater was books, a good library I could spend the rest of my life reading, just satisfying my curiosity."
That's powerful.
That's powerful, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't just about, just accumulating facts for him.
Yeah.
He recognized that power of knowledge as a way to break down, like mental and emotional barriers.
Right.
Reading, for Malcolm X, was a form of liberation.
Yeah, I love that.
It was about shaping his own identity on his own terms.
Yeah.
Like, that level of intentionality is just so rare.
It really is.
It's amazing.
And, so it wasn't just that he learned, but how he used that learning.
Right.
His oratory skills, for example, were legendary.
Oh, absolutely.
And you can kind of draw a straight line from all that time he spent devouring books to electrifying crowds with his speeches.
Makes you think, right?
Yeah.
Like, he immersed himself in history and philosophy, all these, really dense topics.
Right.
But then was able to synthesize all that knowledge into powerful and resonant language that, really resonated and spoke to the experiences of Black Americans.
Yes.
It's like he unlocked a hidden code, not just of language,
Yeah.
but like of human emotion.
Yeah, like in his ballot or the bullet speech,
So, yeah.
the way he used metaphors and just how direct he was, it's impossible to ignore.
Oh, yeah.
He says, "A ballot is like a bullet. You don't throw your ballots until you see a target, and if that target is not within your reach, keep your ballot in your pocket."
Wow.
It's confrontational, but you just get this feeling that this clarity came from, years of like wrestling with these ideas.
Yeah, and that's just one example. Like,
Right.
his whole life was just this evolution, this constant process of self-education feeding into his activism and vice versa. But there's another turn in his journey that I find really fascinating,
Okay.
and that's his changing perspective on race.
Right, right. His initial stance was advocating for racial separation, which was a core principle of the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
But then he evolved to be more about unity. It's like two different Malcolm X's.
It is, and that's what makes it so human and so relatable.
Totally.
Like, he wasn't afraid to change, to admit that he was wrong.
Right.
His pilgrimage to Mecca in 1964 was a pivotal moment for him. Seeing Muslims of all races and ethnicities united in worship.
Yeah.
It challenged his deeply held beliefs in a way I don't think anything else could have.
You have to wonder what was going through his mind during that pilgrimage.
I know, right?
To build your whole life around a certain understanding of the world.
Right.
And then to witness something that completely dismantles it.
Yeah.
That takes immense courage to even process, let alone embrace.
And, that's what's so inspiring about Malcolm X.
Yeah.
He was never content to just accept things as they were.
Right.
You know,
Right.
he was constantly learning, questioning, pushing himself and everyone around him to think differently. And his transformation wasn't just theoretical, it was deeply personal.
Yeah.
It required him to confront his own biases, his own fears, and ultimately to choose a path that was more aligned with his evolving sense of truth.
It's a testament to the fact that, learning isn't just about, books and information.
Right,
It's
right, right.
about lived experience, about opening yourself up to the possibility that you might be wrong.
Totally.
But how often do we really allow ourselves to be that vulnerable, that open to change?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is.
And it's one that Malcolm X's life forces us to grapple with even today.
I agree. It's really easy to get caught up in like the broad strokes of Malcolm X's life,
Yeah.
like the big moments.
Right.
But what's really interesting to me are like the subtle shifts,
Right.
the internal struggles that he must have gone through
Yeah.
that led to such a profound evolution.
Yeah, that's where his humanity really shines through.
Yeah.
We see him wrestling with these really complex questions, not as some distant historical figure,
Yeah.
but as someone who is deeply engaged in a process of self-discovery.
Yeah.
And that process, wasn't always neat or linear.
Definitely. And especially when you consider his views on race,
Yeah.
it's not like he just flipped a switch from separation to unity.
Right.
It was more like navigating a maze
Yeah.
with each turn, leading to a new understanding, a deeper level of awareness.
Exactly. And we often talk about Malcolm X's pilgrimage to Mecca as this singular turning point.
Right.
But it's so important to understand that his evolution had already begun.
Yeah.
He was reading so much,
Ah.
engaging with a bunch of different thinkers,
Mm-hmm.
questioning the rigid doctrines of the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
Those seeds of change were already planted.
Yeah. I wonder if those seeds were planted even earlier during his time in prison
It's possible.
when he was immersing himself in all those books.
Yeah.
And, he talks about feeling that incredible hunger for knowledge.
Yeah.
It's almost like he was laying the groundwork for a future he couldn't even imagine yet.
That's what makes his story so powerful. I mean,
Mhm.
we all go through periods where we're searching and questioning and just trying to make sense of the world around us.
Right.
But Malcolm X took that search to a whole other level.
Yeah.
He wasn't content to just accept what he had been told.
Right.
He wanted to know why,
Mm-hmm.
the underlying systems and forces that shaped his reality.
Yeah. And it's that relentless curiosity,
Yeah.
that drive to just unpack the world around him
Mhm.
that ultimately led him to a more nuanced, more complex understanding of race and equality.
Think about his early speeches,
Right.
all that fiery rhetoric,
Mm-hmm.
the calls for, Black empowerment through separation.
Yeah.
Those speeches were so powerful.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
But they were also rooted in a worldview that he later challenged.
Right.
And it's a powerful reminder that growth is a process.
Yeah.
Even our most passionate convictions can evolve as we learn and experience new things.
Right. As we encounter new perspectives,
Exactly.
it makes you wonder, what if he had stopped learning?
Yeah.
What if he had clung to those early beliefs and never allowed himself to question or grow?
Right.
Would he still have had the same impact?
It's hard to say,
Yeah.
but I think his willingness to change, to admit his limitations, it humanized him
Yeah.
in a way that made his message even more powerful.
Right.
It allowed him to connect with people on a deeper level.
Yeah.
To show that growth and struggle and striving for truth,
Yeah.
it's something that we all share.
It's almost like a blueprint for how to engage with difficult questions.
I like that.
It's not about having all the answers.
Right.
It's about being open to the journey, to the possibility that our understanding might change over time.
Yeah. And that journey, as Malcolm X shows us,
Yeah.
is not always comfortable.
Right.
It
Yeah.
can be really challenging and disorienting,
Yeah.
even painful at times.
Yeah.
But it's through those challenges that we truly grow.
His pilgrimage to Mecca, I imagine, must have been one of those deeply challenging, disorienting experiences
Oh, absolutely.
to witness, this incredible display of unity across, racial and cultural lines.
Yeah.
It must have just shaken him to his core.
Think about it.
Yeah.
You're Malcolm X.
Right.
You've spent your whole life, building this understanding of race and justice and what Black liberation should look like.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see this incredible display of unity,
Yeah.
cutting across every line you thought was unbreakable.
Right.
It must have been earth-shattering.
It really makes you wonder about the very nature of belief.
Yeah.
How much of what we hold to be true is shaped by like our limited experience?
Right.
And how do we, open ourselves up to those moments that could like completely, flip our worldview upside down,
Yeah.
even when it's frightening?
And let's not forget, the courage it took for him to admit that he was wrong,
Yeah.
to risk alienating his followers,
Yeah.
to say, I'm still learning, I'm still growing.
Mm-hmm.
That, to me, is just as inspiring as any of his speeches.
It's the difference between preaching and teaching. When
Yeah.
you're open about your own journey and struggles, it creates space for other people to do the same.
Exactly. And that's why his legacy still resonates today.
Yeah.
He wasn't just a revolutionary figure.
Right.
He was a model for how to think critically, how to engage with the world with both passion and humility.
He embodied that lifelong pursuit of knowledge, and he showed us that, learning doesn't just happen in classrooms.
Right.
It happens out in the world.
Yeah.
Through experiences, through interacting with other people.
And sometimes the most profound lessons come from those moments when our deeply held beliefs are challenged.
Yeah.
When we're forced to confront the limitations of our own understanding. Those are the moments that can transform us.
Yeah.
If we're willing to be open to them.
We've been talking so much about, his ideas, his evolution, all that.
Yeah.
But I think we should probably acknowledge the man, behind the movement.
Yeah.
Our source material mentions some of the, complexities of his personal life.
Right.
And how certain things like his sexuality remain a mystery.
It is a good reminder that even those people who, champion social justice and challenge norms, they're still products of their time.
Right.
They still have their own internal struggles and contradictions.
And as natural as it is to be curious about, these little personal details.
Yeah.
I think what really matters is the impact that he had on the world.
Yeah.
And, his journey from self-education to becoming this powerful voice for change. I mean, that's what's still resonating with people, decades later.
It's really what makes his story so timeless.
Yeah.
He shows us that knowledge is power.
Right.
And that pursuing self-education can be a transformative force, not just for ourselves, but for society as a whole.
Especially in today's world, we're just bombarded with information.
Oh, yeah. But Malcolm X's life really highlights that, learning, true learning is an active process.
Yeah.
It's about seeking out knowledge that challenges us and expands our understanding and empowers us to create change.
He didn't just passively consume information.
Right.
He wrestled with it. He debated it.
Yeah.
He used it to fuel his activism and really hone, his amazing public speaking abilities.
It's such a powerful lesson for all of us.
Totally.
But especially, young people who are growing up in this digital age.
It is easy to get lost in the endless scroll of social media.
Oh, yeah.
And just become these passive consumers of content.
Right.
But Malcolm X's story really challenges us to be, more discerning, more critical, more engaged with the information that we encounter. It's about using knowledge to empower ourselves and actually make a difference in our communities.
And it's not just about what we learn,
Right.
but it's also about our willingness to change.
Yeah. Malcolm X, he wasn't afraid to admit when his views were limited.
No, he wasn't.
And in his journey from advocating for, racial separation to embracing this vision of unity and shared humanity, it speaks volumes,
It does.
about his, intellectual honesty and courage.
In a world that's so polarized, and resistant to change,
Yeah.
that willingness to evolve and to challenge your own beliefs, it's so powerful.
It is.
It reminds us that growth is an ongoing process.
Yeah.
And that being open to new information and new perspectives is essential for personal and societal progress.
And we can't forget about the resilience that he embodied.
Oh, yeah.
He faced so many challenges,
Yeah.
poverty, racism, imprisonment.
Yeah.
But he never gave up on his pursuit of knowledge and justice.
He never did.
He turned all those challenges into fuel for his own growth.
That's what makes him such a powerful source of inspiration.
Yeah.
He reminds us that even when things are really tough,
Yeah.
we have the power to choose hope,
Mm-hmm.
to keep going, to keep striving for a better future.
It's a message that truly transcends time,
It does.
It speaks to something deep inside all of us.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into Malcolm X's life,
Yeah.
I think the main takeaway is
Yeah.
his story isn't just history.
Mm.
It's about the power of self-education.
Yeah.
It's about, embracing change and the resilience of the human spirit.
Yeah, it's a call to action for all of us
Mhm.
to be, lifelong learners, to challenge our assumptions,
Yeah.
to use our voices to advocate for a more just and equitable world.
And it's a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge,
Right.
the struggle for equality, the fight for justice,
Yeah.
these are ongoing journeys.
Yeah.
Malcolm X may be gone,
Hmm.
but his legacy lives on in all the people he inspired to think differently, to dream bigger, and to fight harder for a better world.
And that's the beauty of doing a deep dive like this. It's not just about learning about some historical figure. It's
Wow.
about, finding inspiration and guidance and a renewed sense of purpose for our own journeys.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
if you're feeling inspired,
Yeah.
take that energy and do something with it.
Mhm.
Pick up the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Look up some of his speeches online.
Mhm.
Keep exploring his ideas.
Because there's always more to learn, more to uncover, more ways to connect his legacy to our own lives.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep seeking, keep learning, and keep pushing for a better world.